Congresswoman Donna Edwards, I'm curious where you think this is going to land and whether you think Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema and others will actually go along with it.
Well, first of all, I do think that over the next couple of weeks that we are going to see a plan come out of the Senate and then be sent back over to the House and on to the president. And the reason I have that confidence is that, roughly 90% or so of the bill was pre-negotiated with the Senate. And I think those things that are on the edge and still need to be worked out can, and there may be some things that fall off. I happen to believe in family and medical leave. I think it's important for Americans, but I recognize that might be a sticking point. But overall, I think that there's been a lot of pre-negotiation, and that signals that we're going to have a bill that's going to come out of the Senate and back over to the House.
Lonnie, if that's the case, what do you think it really looks like if you were a betting person? Not what you want, what you think it will be.
Yeah. Well, I do think we're going to see some paring back. I think the recent estimates from the Congressional Budget Office, which show that this bill increases the deficit by almost $800 billion over 10 years, I think that's going to be a very difficult pill to swallow for the likes of Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema. So I do think there will be some changes. I think you're going to see some paring back of some of the elements of this, maybe an enhancement of some of the revenue side, because politically it's very, very difficult for these moderate Democrats to vote for a bill that increases the deficit. It is not paid for, contrary to the claims that are made by many House Democrats, made by the Biden administration. It's not. And so they're going to have to figure out what they do with this, because the politics of this going into an election year are very, very tricky. With inflation continuing to be an issue, are we really going to be pumping $1.7 trillion of new spending into an economy that I don't think, frankly, can afford it right now?
Donna, what do you think about the tax front and how this thing can get reworked, if it gets reworked at all? I'm going to throw one idea out at you, by the way, which is, and it's my hobby horse, I talk about it on the show all the time, which is carried interest within the private equity world. I don't understand why it's not been touched. I will note, by the way, and I don't know if you saw this yesterday, President Biden, planning to stay at David Rubenstein's house in Nantucket for Thanksgiving. David's been on our show a million times, and he's against carried interest. He's a huge private equity guy. And doesn't it just expose the whole party to this idea that it's in the pocket of in the private equity industry?
Well, look, if I had to be queen for a day and decide whether or not to include carried interest, I would. But that's not where the negotiation has fallen through. And I don't agree with Lonnie. I think that this Build Back Better plan is paid for. I think the CBO estimates, especially around the IRS being able to, collect, sort of back taxes due, is significantly underestimated. And that there are some provisions that may be negotiated out or down, for example, like the SALT taxes. There may be income thresholds that actually could have a much better impact on the overall proposal and the bottom line. But the reality is that the American people, if they get a child tax credit, they get relief by sending their children to pre-care and Medicare, Medicaid expansion. All of those dollars are dollars that go right back into the economy. And so I feel really confident that on the majority of the plan, we are going to see passage out of the Senate, and it is going to result in a boost to the economy over the long haul.
Lonnie, final word to you. We got about 30 seconds.
Well, look, I continue to be concerned about inflationary pressure. I think a lot of the spending you're seeing in this bill comes over the short term. The longer term budget estimates are probably more favorable to Democrats. But even if you assume the IRS is going to do a great job of collecting back taxes, they're not going to find $800 billion worth. So this is a serious problem for the economy. I think it's a serious problem for the growth of government. And I just don't see this bill surviving in this current form. So I would expect some changes over these next several weeks.
Okay.